All right, hey guys, how's it going? Chris Chen here. I just got done with this Brainstorm Connection workshop in Rancho Cucamonga. Yeah, in Rancho Cucamonga this weekend. Had a great time. This video is meant to be like, I'm gonna take the notes that I created and I'm gonna make a video regarding it, so I'll remember what I learned. So this definitely benefits me, and it's gonna benefit, the people watching who didn't get to attend the workshop too. For those who've been following me for a while, I've been doing these workshop notes for a long time. Like, they're some of the most popular things on my blog, actually. But all right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, guys, just arrived at the Brainstorm Connection workshop. I think the first time they're doing this.
Person workshop since the pandemic.
But Thomas Brillante has done a lot of these things in the past. I'm sure it's gonna be good. Haven City Market. I don't know where I'm supposed to go. Oh, there it is. All right, this is pretty cool. Okay, so we're in the tent. Yeah, it feels a little bit like a massive black Trojan horse with a unicorn vibes.
Again, thank you for being patient with us. And without further ado, let's welcome our first speaker, Mr. John Park.
So first on Saturday was John Park. First, he talked a little bit about art direction and an image board. And then he used this Blender model to kind of block out his thing, and he gets a screenshot. After that, he went ahead and put in some textures for the walls, okay? Fun tip, he mentioned that for perspective, you can use a star with 99 points. That was a really cool thing. I'm gonna try that out. He also does the match color trick. Another tip, using the Band-Aid brush to get rid of watermarks. Yeah, a lot of people probably know that one, but I should probably use that one more. So step 4, he puts in the tone from the image board into the background. So he actually takes one of like the reference images and he puts it in the background of his painting so you can barely see it. And he uses that as a landmark for the color and the lighting for the piece. After that, he goes ahead and does a levels adjustment layer, or curves, I forgot which one. But the thing is, he basically takes all the textures that he had and he makes everything dark using the levels layer. And this is really important because what he starts to do is he has a mask on that and he erases out to reveal the light. But the next step I think is really key, where he starts to use the mask to combine that, like almost like polymerization in Yu-Gi-Oh! To the color grade and overlay. So it's like in the shadows, he'll make it a little bit more green. And because he has a mask, he can reverse and inverse the mask and make the lighter colors like more of like a yellow, warmer tone, like an orange. I've seen John do this a lot in some of his paintings. Like, I tried to mimic it and I couldn't figure out like what was wrong. I think I understand the concept now of warm tones for the highlights, cool tones for the shadows, and using the levels and the mask combined with the overlay color grading thing, you can get that effect. And after that, he adds some bounce light and stuff with some glow, atmospheric perspective. That stuff's pretty standard. Also, I think one thing that was really cool is when he did this God Ray, this trick from Dylan Cole, where I do a lot of God Rays in the theme park work, and it's a struggle making it look really realistic and good. But he takes a sliver from the piece and then he stretches it out so it looks all pixelated, and he adds a motion blur to it. Then he uses level to crunch the values. And then finally, he puts it on lighten mode, perspective, and that kind of stuff. And it's really beautiful because you get this God Ray that has rainbow colors in it as well. So I'm definitely going to try that out. It's really irregular. It feels very natural. So this is a 4-step organic God Ray process. I use this a lot in my work, so I'm going to try that out. Okay, next, after that, we had Steve Hampton. So Steve is a renowned like figure drawing teacher and stuff. He has like the books, and he talked mostly about like the history of like the male and female archetypes, like Leyendecker and who else? Gibson. He talked a little bit about that stuff. It was kind of a difficult presentation though. One being that the projector, it made it a little bit hard to see from like the photos. You can see that. So yeah, he mainly talked about like animation and like character archetypes and stuff. All right, after that we had a lunch break. Okay, next after lunch we came back and then we had Ehsan Biglu. So Ehsan did some cool sculpting stuff and with like his monsters and creatures and stuff. But yeah, to be honest, I'm not really sure why. His voice was like really deep and it made it hard to hear as well. So you know, this workshop had a lot of potential, but you know, just some audio problems and stuff, you know, not their fault. And then finally at the end of day one, there is Ari Pan. She kind of showed us some of her character design process, and this was pretty interesting. For those who have heard of divergent thinking, I think Alex Hormozy talks about this as well, like 50 ways to use a brick. I think she kind of takes us through an exercise a little bit like this, and there's a little bit of improv here as well. So she does the presentation and everything, which is really good, and then she has like a workshop, an activity for us. So this was really interactive and very interesting. She talks about vibe, shape, hook, line, and sinker, and basically when she's designing a character, she'll have this process. So first we did like a bunch of circles to like kind of loosen up, and then afterwards we had to think of a vibe and like think of a shape language and a hook. And I think the hook was the main thing, because she kept on talking about like, hey, don't make it like a regular cat, you know, make it something interesting, not just like a plain old, you know, knight concept. So I think her emphasis was a lot on originality. So at first, this was really hard for me, you know, I almost gave up. So like my stuff, it was looking like, she told us like, do a singer. And then I just drew like a regular singer. And she was like, are you guys doing a regular cat or like an interesting cat? And I'm like, yeah, mine's a regular cat. There's nothing interesting about it. And then she had us do a fighter. And then I don't know, I just drew like a normal fighter. I thought this was just too hard. Like I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how, you know, I could barely do like a normal fighter, let alone like an interesting original concept. Like I had no idea. And then the next one was master. And then I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do for master, but something popped in my mind and I'm like, okay, what if I have like a master sushi chef? Okay, so I was thinking of like a master sushi chef, and I thought, okay, what if there's a sushi chef, but on the hat there's like an octopus, and then there's different fish around like the sushi chef's hat. You know, that was my idea. Oh, I think the thing is I'm a vegetarian, so I was like, oh man, what if I reversed the tables and the fish was cutting up the humans? So I drew that. And then after that, I was like, man, these drawings are so bad, I gave up. You know, I just gave up. And then while I was just kind of chilling, and like Ari, the teacher, walked over to us, and she was like, hey guys, what are you guys doing? Like, how are your sketches? Let's see. And then I was like, oh no, like I didn't expect for her to check on the homework. So then she started talking to people, and then we started showing her our sketches, and yeah, so I was like, okay, I'll just show her the sushi chef thing, and she got so excited about it. She was like, oh my gosh, a fish cutting up humans. What if there's different types of humans that they cut up? And then I was like, oh yeah, sure. Like, what if there's a cut of human that's a yoga instructor, and like the yoga person has like more tender flesh? And she's like, oh yeah. And then what if there's a sumo wrestler? And yeah, but anyways, that was like a little bit of improv. And what was really cool was when she went back on stage, she was like, guys, I just saw a student create a chef cutting up humans. So creative. And I was like, yo guys, the teacher is saying like my idea. And then I was really excited, you know. So it made me feel the magic of being a teacher, like from the student's perspective. And I thought that was really fun. You know, like the tables kind of turn and stuff. But yeah, it was fun. I really appreciated Ari's enthusiasm, the interactivity. Oh, and then she was throwing out like candy and stuff the entire workshop too. That was fun. She was throwing out these lychee jellies. All right, cool. And then we had a Q&A. Yeah, and that was day 1. Okay, cool. Now let's go to Sunday, James Pake. So Sunday morning started with James Pake, and this was a really great demo. James was showing us big picture systems and methodologies. So he started talking about finding a recipe, finding ingredients when you're doing cooking, okay? So I think this is a little bit like in French cooking, there's something called mise en place, where you take the time to cut up all your vegetables and prepare all the ingredients, before you start cooking. It's more like professional and stuff. And I was talking to James a little bit after, and he was saying like, okay, like his philosophy is to spend a lot of time to do things right first, one time, and then it'll be very fast later. So like these assets that he creates and he cuts out by hand, it may take a really long time, but he can reuse them in the future, saving him time later. So anyways, you'll see some of his stuff here, his ingredients, like you have like clouds and like trees and cars and stuff. And then he starts talking about like roadmap, design, art, design, stuff like that. But anyways, I feel like what James was trying to say is the recipe part is like the most important part of not the most important, but one of the important parts, because it's where the design is. So then after the recipe, you start sketching in, filling in space, really rough sketch, and anyone can do this. And then he starts photo bashing. So this is the part where it's like a little bit ugly. He first puts stuff in, and then he does a little bit of like the perspective grid, 1 star on, 1 off the page, put stuff in. And after he puts in like the mountains and the road and stuff like that, he starts putting in the POI. He calls it point of interest. So you started putting in like this tower, some cars, people on horses, stuff like that. And this part, is kind of ugly looking, but I think James is all about delayed gratification. So this stuff is not really fun or cool right now. It's a little bit ugly. And at this point, once everything's in there, he starts value correcting, light, medium, dark. One thing I thought that was pretty interesting was James was saying you can show the ugly version to an art director and they'll still be able to get it because it shows the design. And in theme park work, it's pretty similar. Yeah. And then afterwards, right, the values stuff, highlights, atmosphere, that kind of stuff, clouds, lighting, that type of stuff. One thing James did talk about was having like the assets, like how many do you cut out? He doesn't have 1. He usually has like 3 of each just as a backup. And, you can use it for other pieces too. So it's cool how James like invests early on into this, creating these assets, and you can use it later. James was also talking about how his background in advertising, they would use assets as well. So in theme parks, we definitely use a lot of like cut out people and stuff for that. All right, that's James. After that, we had Norris Lin do this demo with a 3D coat and stuff. I don't know 3D really well, so this kind of went a little bit over my head, but people seem to really like Norris. Everyone who does 3D, they're like, oh yeah, Norris was so good, so cool, so definitely it went over me, but people seem to really like Norris's demo with the thing he created. Next we had June. So I'm a huge fan of June's artwork. Love the stuff. June is notorious for working very, very slowly. He talks as he's like, yeah, I work very slowly. And yeah, I don't know what to say, man. He just paints really slowly at like full opacity brushes, drawing everything slowly, the brushes, being very careful, but in the end, it ends up looking really good. He did talk a little about like aesthetics, creativity, and logic and stuff. He had like pillars and stuff. But yeah, it was cool seeing him work. It was just, very slow. It was really good. And then finally, we had Cynics. Wrap it up. Huge fan of Cynics as well. He's an OG on YouTube and concept art and stuff like that. So Cynics talked a little bit. I thought he was going to draw like a robot or a girl. So his talk was more philosophy about like conscious, unconscious mind and learning and stuff.
Your subconscious, crazy. It is amazing in what it can do.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't have too many notes. It was a little bit hard to hear because of like the mic and everything. But he just did a little bit more talking about philosophy and stuff. So that was kind of my takeaway from it. Yeah. So that's my connection schedule. Ooh, there's a typo here. Okay. I was just gonna say, yeah, I definitely think it was good. One thing is that this is their first workshop, so like the audio and the video weren't that great, but it was only $30 to $50. I don't think there was a lot of people complaining about that because it's like still a really great deal. So I'm sure they're gonna get better and figure things out. It's the first shop they've done in like 4 years. One thing I would probably say though, as like a suggestion, is that I hope that their marketing team and the speakers will maybe coordinate a little bit more with what they'll present, because sometimes like in the poster I see one thing and it looks really cool and the speaker does something completely different. So I think it's just a communication thing. I'm sure they'll kind of like coordinate a little bit more, and I wish the best of luck to Brainstorm and stuff. It was definitely really fun connecting with everybody and making friends and stuff. So yeah, all right, that's it. Okay. Hey guys, I'm here with James Pig at the first Brainstorm workshop. How's it going, James?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, fantastic workshop so far. Anything you want to say to the attendees or viewers?
Sure. Well, yeah, like Chris was saying, this is our first back in live session Brainstorm workshop. We're going to have a lot more of these coming up. We have our summer term starting in May 20th, so registration is open. So we hope to see you guys there. Come to our communal events. Yeah, we're just going to do more of these, so let's pop this off.
All right, thank you so much, James.
Awesome, man. Thanks, Chris.